Welcome to the Future Fashion Initiative, the podcast where fashion meets purpose and style becomes a catalyst for empowerment. Each episode, we explore the intersection of personal empowerment, career growth, and conscious, sustainable style through inspiring conversations with leaders, changemakers, and visionaries. I'm joined by the incredible businesswoman and jewelry designer, Sarah Mulder. Starting her business in 2011 and based in Vancouver, Sarah creates incredible jewelry designs out of her Gastown studio, and her works have been showcased in British Vogue, Rocky Mountain Bride, and the Amazon Original Series Upload. Sarah designs jewelry for city dwellers and bohemian hearts and focuses on elevated everyday looks as well as statement pieces to pair with your exciting outfits that you're going to put together. So, Sarah, your jewelry designs have always put me in awe, especially since I kind of started following you. And I think that was kind of back in 2022, 2021, when I started kind of learning more about you and your designs. And I think you take a very elevated approach to not only everyday pieces, but also statement pieces. And to date, these Empress hoops specifically are the hoops that I've literally worn the most.
They look so good on you.
Thank you so much, but they really are so gorgeous. I'm so excited to chat a little bit more about kind of your inspiration, origins. So in terms of kind of how you first got started with jewelry, what kind of drew you into this craft?
So I started jewelry making, like fiddling around as a hobby as a teenager. I'm 45 now. So it's been a long time of like sort of hobby to business. But when I was maybe 15 or something, my mom threw me a party like for my birthday. And it was all little seed beads. So like those little tiny beads that you string around, you do a little string of them around your neck. And all my friends got to make stuff. And I've just always loved making things in quantities. For whatever reason, my brain has always been like, I'm really good at this. I can make a ton of them. And then I land with a whole bunch of stuff in my hands and I'm like, what am I going to do with this? And I think that's just the perfect equation for owning a business or being a maker. So when I was quite young, I was really into like making friendship bracelets, but I wouldn't do like 3 of them for my friend and 3 for myself. I would make like 200 of them. So I think that just that obsession would, what put me into jewelry making. And because I had so many pieces, I wanted to sell them. So I started getting into markets and doing little, side gigs with friends or whatever. So inevitably that hobby sort of drove me into paying a few bills. And then it got a lot of bills paid and inevitably started paying my rent through doing markets and paying off student loans and things like that when I was in my 20s. And I kind of gave it a little bit of a break. I took some other jobs throughout that time. And then I picked it up again in 2011 when I moved on from a job that I sort of picked up jewelry again as a little bit more seriously. And it became a career after like just putting a little bit more effort into things, basically.
I think a lot of times it starts from a spark when you're younger, whether it's like you're interested in, as you said, jewelry, but it could even be art, because I know you also studied fine arts and you're also a painter. So sometimes it kind of, that spark, you can see that as at a young age. And I love how you've been able to kind of follow that creative vision for yourself as well, because I know you even traveled to Europe and you studied art history. And so culminating all these experiences, I think it also gave you a really creative perspective on jewelry.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I definitely wasn't thinking about jewelry as a career when I went to Europe.
Mm-hmm.
I was in college at that time. I had just graduated with a diploma and needed something to do. So I threw myself into this 3-month sort of art history tour through Europe studying. And I was definitely thinking at that time I was going to become an artist because obviously at 22 or 20, whatever I was, I'm going to be an artist. I just graduated with a diploma. There was just so much growth that needed to happen before that could ever happen for me. But it was a solid 10 years before jewelry came around, in between that time. And Europe definitely was not the spark for jewelry, but it was the spark for knowing that I wanted to create for the rest of my life.
And you kind of talked about how it kind of evolved into this, full-time career. Would you say it was something that kind of you were able to just get the confidence one day? You were like, okay, this is what I'm doing. Or was, as you said, it was kind of like a journey where you were growing your confidence, doing markets on the side. And then over time, it became this kind of full-time
Yeah,
opportunity.
absolutely. I think so. In my 20s, I was still selling at one or two little winter markets. Every Christmas, I would, put my name in for a community center sort of event and sell some jewelry. And I remember sitting there in my 20s and I had a ton of stuff all over the place. And it was just sort of whatever I wanted to make. I wasn't listening to the customers, it was just whatever I wanted to make.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there and marking everything down. Like, I think I only had pieces priced at around $40 and thinking, oh my God, no one's going to buy anything, and marking everything down to $20. And I would do that all the time. Um, in 2011, what changed was I put my name into a more upscale Christmas market, um,
Mm.
and managed to get into that market. And during that time, in the 4 days that I was there, I had two stores come by and ask me if I wholesaled. And I really didn't know anything about wholesale except that I worked retail in my 20s. So I knew a little bit about what wholesale entailed. So I wholesaled some pieces to those businesses. And that is really where things took off because I realized that there was a little bit of demand, and putting yourself into wholesale requires a different set of rules because you have to make quantities on certain designs. You can't make everything. You need to photograph them. You have to start doing the branding and all the other little steps in between that come with owning a business. And up until that point, I didn't have a set of rules. I was just doing whatever I wanted to do. And it was really fun, but it was chaotic.
Hmm.
So when I started doing wholesale, I started being able to hone what that meant and really start taking things seriously.
And in terms of kind of moving into that direction, starting your business more seriously, what were some of the challenges and triumphs that you had at that time?
So I think the biggest thing for anybody is where to spend your money wisely. I think
Hmm.
finances for every small business is particularly mine because I was completely self-funded. So I was working, a 9 to 5 to pay for this sort of hobby that I was turning into a business. And that meant I had to eat off of that money, pay my rent on that money, and put money into the business and grow the business. So that's really I think that's the biggest sort of challenge for any small business is to know where to cap your budget. And you really don't know because you're sort of planning for these future sales and you don't know what the demand is. So I think the biggest challenge is that is just not overspending. That's a huge one, not overbuying, because in the beginning you're sort of just throwing everything around and seeing what sticks.
Hmm.
And I think the second part of that was a triumph for me was literally the demand for the jewelry, seeing women want to wear my pieces right away, like not put it in their bag, but walk out and wear it is huge. And it's still the biggest compliment today. I love that.
And I think when you see that too, it also motivates you to keep going because you're just like, oh, people love what I'm creating. And to know that you're able to kind of make people feel good about themselves or find a piece maybe that, they haven't been able to find that now they finally found and they're going to be able to wear that all the time. I think too that that's also motivating for sure.
100%. Yeah, I love it. I love it if they find it for themselves and they're like, "Oh my God, you're the brand I
Yeah.
know about that I need in my life." That's amazing. But equally amazing is when they find pieces within the collection that they want to gift. Because I think
Hmm.
that's so special too, because that's such a huge compliment to me because I feel like it's such a personal gift to give jewelry. And when they find that within my brand, I live for that.
Hmm. And I'd love to kind of chat a little bit more about like your creative process, how you actually approach making the pieces. So in terms of a lot of your pieces, I noticed they really strike that balance between, statement jewelry and everyday wear, because I'd say a lot of them are extremely wearable and kind of meant to be worn. And I'm curious as to how you kind of approach designing pieces that are versatile, but still, have that unique edge that you bring to your designs.
Yeah, so my passion is designing statement. I love designing statement, but obviously smaller cells in the
Yes.
everyday wear.
Hmm.
So generally when I'm designing a collection and I only put out between 8 and 12 pieces in a collection. So the collections are very small.
Hmm.
So generally I start off with a statement piece and then I'm like whatever that is, whatever I'm obsessing over, and then I design it down a little bit and down a little bit and down a little bit
Yes.
so that it's approachable and easy for people to wear. But I live in statement. I love statement for day to day. It's absolutely my favorite. But yeah, I'm definitely a get obsessed about something. I love being out in public, seeing what people are wearing. I think that's the number one inspiration is sort of just sitting down and watching, observing
Mhm.
that. And I'll then take whatever idea is percolating and I
Mhm.
like to draw it over and over and over and over until it becomes sort of muscle memory for me. And if
Mhm.
I am that obsessed about it, I know other people will be too.
Are going to be too. Yeah, and I love that idea of people watching, because I think so often, in real life, you're able to see what are actually people wearing,
Yeah.
especially on the day-to-day in different settings. So, if you're out in the evening, are people wearing different pieces? Or, if you're out at a coffee shop, what are they wearing during the day-to-day? So it gives you a really good kind of understanding, I think, of that, but also, the Vancouver kind of take on style. What is
Yeah.
that?
And it's
Right?
absolutely very different from if I was in Toronto, if I was in Winnipeg.
Mhm.
It's very different style everywhere. And let me tell you, when I see people that have like a layer of earrings and a layer of necklaces on, I'm like, yeah. I'm like secretly in the back. I'm like on the SkyTrain, like, yay,
Yeah.
good job.
Yeah,
You wore your jewelry today.
exactly. Yeah, and sometimes it's even like, what are people like taking the time to even put on, like you said, where people are like layering, they're putting it on, they're actually wearing it. Because I think a lot of times people, for me anyways, that's the one thing I'm like, I'm gonna put on my jewelry today because I want to feel like my most confident self.
Yeah,
So
there
that's
is something about jewelry, and this has been since I was a young kid. There's something
Mhm.
about jewelry that makes me personally feel cooler or like
Mhm.
ready to go. I always had hand me downs when I was a kid, my older brother's shirts or whatever. And
Mhm.
I loved that too. But I'd throw a pair of hoops on and I'd be like, I am so cool with these hoops on. And that's the same
Exactly.
mentality you have now buying my
Mhm.
product. I feel like a lot of my customers say that to me is that, when they're getting ready, if they have a podcast to go on, if they have a job interview, I have had that email come through that said, I wore your earrings today and it made me feel more empowered. And I'm like, wow, that's just the greatest compliment ever.
For sure. And some of my favorite ones to wear have always been the Empress hoops and the Live hoops. Like, and I keep going back to them because they're so timeless. And I think a lot of your designs, they have that quality to them. And I love when you talk about your obsession, because I can definitely see how that comes through. Because a lot of your style specifically, I notice I can wear with a lot of different things and they go with it. They go with everything. And so I noticed that's something kind of I see a lot through your work. And what to you, I'm kind of curious, makes it something timeless per se in terms of like a jewelry piece?
So I do use stones that are not that are sort of like daily wear stones, like your quartz or a black onyx, something that, is not too out there in color that I think everybody can wear every day. That's sort of number one that I use. I mean, I love every stone, so but I
Hard to
have to sort of
choose.
narrow it down. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what makes something classic is a simplified design.
Mhm.
I think when there's particularly right now, there's a lot of bold going on. Like there's a
Yes.
ton of which I love that people are going there, but I don't know how long that will last and how long people will continue to put them on every day, like the really chunky bold stuff. I would put that in a trend category.
For sure.
However, they a lot of those designs do come from vintage inspired pieces, and I think that that trend is huge. So that is still a classic design, but for me, I want it to be extremely lightweight. That is a
Mhm.
huge one for me. So I think when earrings are too heavy, people don't want to wear them. So I really, even the ones that you're wearing, I think they're super lightweight. Once you're
Mhm.
comfortable in them, you barely feel them on. You can wear them all day. And that's really something that I strive for. So you will see a lot of big, bold designs from me, but they're generally either hollow, like a hollow design,
Mhm.
or they're very tapered. So there's not a lot of bulk.
Yeah.
For me, that's what classic is, even with when there's a little twist to them.
Yeah, and I think it gives it that approachability, like you said, because it's like you're able to wear it every day. It's not bothering, it's not tugging, and I think that's a huge kind of a selling point is not only the design, but also how it feels when you're wearing it day to day. And I think it's, really important to take that into consideration. The other thing I know you mentioned too is that you have a small batch philosophy. So you kind of, you might come out with 7 new items. And so I'd love to kind of understand why you go ahead with this approach of producing more small quantities and why that's important to you.
I do think that this is the most sustainable practice that I can give with my jewelry company because 100 is sort of the minimum that you can produce within the industry. So I generally actually only produce at the beginning of any season about 70 pieces in gold and 30 pieces in silver of each design. So it's very, very small. And from there, I can sort of see right away where people are gravitating towards. And this is the way that I don't overproduce anything. So I haven't actually had a ton of sample sales because I don't have a lot of overstock. And I think that when you see, Aritzia or Herschel or any of these big brands that are having warehouse huge, they have to overproduce because they're in a category of sales where they're selling to big department stores or wherever. They have to overproduce because they don't know what they're sort of
Mm.
who they're selling to. But also when you get into those bigger categories, you're producing in the thousands. You have to be able to get the best price within your industry. To be able to sell to those bigger companies, you have to try to get the best price so that you have a return of profit.
Mhm.
um, so I'm working with small boutiques who value my sustainability practice. And that is why the price point is a little bit higher with my line, but really it's quite reasonable considering,
Yes.
my, who my competition is.
Mhm.
So I always have a price point in mind for pieces before I produce them. And I try to cap it at a certain price point for my customers. And that's just something that I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to make my line really approachable.
And I think also kind of going back to that classic style, I think it's also people are going to wear the pieces again and again and again. And I think that's also part of the sustainability aspect. It's not following a trend. It's something that, is going to last. It's going to be timeless. And I think it's also kind of looking at us, the users, when you're picking out a piece, it's like, okay, you know what? I know I'm going to wear that piece for years. And so it already has that kind of sustainability aspect built in versus, somebody going on Amazon or whatever it may be and buying a bunch of earrings, wearing them once, it breaks, you're throwing it out. So I think it's also that aspect is really key as well. I'm also interested in learning a bit about kind of integrating sustainability into your design process. Is that something that you also do?
It is. It's something that we have to do. It's something, particularly as a small business, it's where we're at in production.
Hmm.
Globally, we have to look at sustainable practices. It's one of the reasons why I don't send boxes to with my product. I do have little bags that I put pieces into, but I feel like the bags can get reused over and over, where the boxes I I tend to see people just throwing them away. Like I've asked so many people if they reuse a box after it's been sent to them, and every single person says no, it gets thrown away. So that's just it. Why am I spending my money
Mhm. Yeah,
on something that is
exactly.
literally being tossed in the garbage? And it's really something that no brand takes lightly. There's a lot of design thought that goes into a little box, a little gifting box, and it's something that we're told as designers that we need to
Mhm.
send. It's something that you see on Instagram, the unboxing, that
Yes.
it's all getting tossed in the garbage. And I don't know what the point is of spending more money on a box that's getting tossed
Yes.
immediately, even if it's a recyclable material. It costs us more to purchase sustainable gift boxes. It costs us more to purchase recycled papers for those gift boxes to then have it be thrown away again. It just doesn't make sense to me. So stuff like that, maybe you don't see that coming in your package, but there's a reason for it.
And I noticed a lot of your earrings too, they do come with a slip that you can put them in, which is wonderful because it also helps ensure that you're not getting it scratched. And I also really like that too, because for myself, sometimes I'll just throw my earrings in the bag and to be able to kind of put it in that kind of satchel or slip and just throw it in my purse and know it's not going to get scratched and it's not a big heavy box that I have to carry around with me. I think that's also a very innovative idea that you had with that as well.
It's funny because the simplest thing that I can tell you to do with your jewelry, which is not the most glamorous thing, is just to put it in a Ziploc bag. It's the thing that protects it the most.
Yes.
It's super simple. You just
Yeah.
wipe it clean, you throw it in a little Ziploc baggie. It prevents tarnishing from happening. It prevents the oxidization from the air to get on the jewelry. It is the simplest option. Like
Mhm.
you don't actually need the bag. The bag is super cute and I'm glad that it's being
Yeah.
used. But
Yeah.
the little Ziploc baggie that is actually the best thing that you can get in the mail.
That's good to know. Most people probably already have that in their household, so you can go and grab that and know your earrings are gonna be
Yeah.
staying tarnish free as long as possible, so I
And
love
if you
that.
have one of these, if these come in the mail and you get like a little tiny pocket, this is what I use for my own jewelry. So
I
this
love
is what we
it.
use to store in the studio. This is
Yeah,
what prevents tarnishing. So
yeah,
that's
that's
the
so
easiest.
smart. Yeah, for sure. And for listeners who want to build a jewelry collection, what advice would you give them in terms of like almost like a capsule wardrobe for jewelry? What would you kind of suggest they start with or think about maybe?
Yeah, I want them to buy what they love. Like if they're in a shop and they see something and their heart is like, "Ooh, that's so cute." And then they walk
Mhm.
away and go, "But I don't really wear anything like that." Go back to the thing that sparked your interest, because if somebody is with you, I mean, I've seen it a million times, 100 times, more than
Yeah.
when they're shopping with a partner or a mother or somebody with a different style that is not on the same page as them, and they're trying something on and they are like, "Oh my God, this is so pretty. I absolutely love this." And their partner goes, they immediately change their mind. Immediately. "Oh, like, what else do you think I should wear?" And they'll pick something that the person that they're with has seen them wear before. It's like, no, but they already have that. Like, you need
Exactly.
something that complements the thing that they already have. And I've heard it from so many women too, like, oh, I keep picking up the same hoop, the same hoop. Okay, well, pick up the same hoop, but pick it up in a different size or a different stone. You're going to love wearing it. Just get something that's like a little bit out of your comfort zone. I also really love when people come into a shop with me and they actually try pieces on. Like, I really want you to try things on. Some jewelry stores you're not allowed to try
Mhm.
earrings on. We provide cleaner when I'm in person. I clean the ear
Mhm.
for people. I do think that makes a huge difference so they can see which shape they feel comfortable wearing with their face. Not everybody feels comfortable wearing a big oversized earring. Maybe it's too much. Like me, I don't like wearing lipstick because I feel like it draws attention to my
Mhm.
I don't love it, but I'll wear a huge earring any day. So it's sort of that balance of like what you feel comfortable in, and you won't know until you have it on. So try things on, bring your favorite pieces into a store with you, wear them, and then
Mhm.
try things on with them. It's just like clothing. You have to try them on.
Hmm. I love that because I think a lot of times people forget that that's even an option to even, hold it up. Even with earrings, hold it up. What do you think? Put it on your wrist, see, how you feel in it too. And I think like going back to trying things on, it's figuring out also what you're going to wear more often, but also what makes you feel good and confident. As you were talking about, sometimes, for certain people, it's like, I'm not going to do lipstick today, but I'm going to put on these earrings. And that's going to
Absolutely.
give me that confidence. And I work quite closely with Dress for Success. So specifically in Vancouver, I was their style champion. So a lot of women I'd work with, we would not only give them makeup products, but also jewelry. And they loved the jewelry, and even just adding those earrings on for that outfit for their job interview, you could just see how it just elevated things. And, there are some people where it's like, I don't really like makeup. That's not my thing. But you know what? Throw on a necklace, throwing on, some nice rings, that's going to do it for me. And I think everybody kind of listening to that voice within them is really important in helping them feel confident in themselves. And so even just for myself, when I'm going to a job interview or whatever it may be, maybe I might not wear these to a job interview, but I might wear a little smaller pair that still kind of convey my personality, make me feel put together, but also allow me to kind of feel that confidence. Because I think sometimes people think, oh, it's just how you present yourself. And it's like, it's not just that, because I think a lot of times there's a bigger link to how we present ourselves and how we feel. It's how it's making us feel when we put on this jewelry and we go, that makes me feel really good.
Absolutely. And I think also, if you're picking something that has a little bit of meaning, like I have a neck on that has a little snake
Mm-hmm.
that's rising, and on the back it's engraved with strength. From my collection, it's called the Lumi necklace. I wear this piece often when I need to feel a little bit more confident. And there is meaning in the pieces that you pick out. So if you can build a capsule collection around pieces that are meaningful for you, that's fabulous. But within that, get a couple different lengths of necklaces. So people are asking me all the time, how can I layer something? Just get a couple of lengths and a different couple of chains, thicknesses, textures. Again, it's just like putting a sweater over a t-shirt. Like you want to see a little texture with with a
Yeah.
t-shirt, makes it a little bit more special.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that point of symbolism because sometimes it's, symbolism of that we want it to symbolize, right? Like what that snake for you means, someone else might not understand it symbolized, but you know it within it yourself. And when you're wearing that, it's like, oh, that's a reminder today to myself that this is how I want to show up. So I love that idea of kind of using jewelry to symbolize, your hopes or your dreams or even sentimentality. Like, did someone buy this for you? And you look at that piece and you're like, oh, I think of them. So
Absolutely.
I love that kind of personal aspect as well.
Yeah, I think that people will just reach for those items more often. I think like when people say what their favorite thing that they always wear, it's always a gift. It's always something like my grandma gave me this necklace, my
Hmm.
wedding band or whatever. So you definitely want to pick pieces that you will wear with those items,
Hmm.
but always having like a little stud and a little hoop and then a slightly bigger hoop.
Yeah.
You want to go for those levels in a capsule of,
Yeah.
that's something that will go with a dress and also with a blazer or something like that. A long
Exactly.
necklace. One long necklace, one power piece is always great too.
And I think nowadays too, people are really mixing metals. You see a lot of people wearing both silver and gold because I think, there is this notion of, are you a gold girl? Are you a silver person? And a lot of times you can be a both gold and silver person too. So I think being open to that as well is something we're seeing a little bit more as a trend.
It's very interesting how there's these little rules with fashion, right?
Yes. Yes.
They can't be broken. It's like, well, start small and start incorporating, right? And just try it out and see.
Exactly. Also, in terms of kind of specifically going back to Vancouver. So Vancouver's a really unique city in my opinion because I think we have pockets of a lot of innovative designers, not only for jewelry but also for fashion and otherwise. And I think there's a really kind of unique community. And I think a lot of times when people think of Vancouver, they might think of, athleisure, whatever it may be, but there's so much more that's happening. And I think, especially in the heart of Gastown, which I know is where you have your studio, you probably are, have so much influence around you and inspiration in terms of other designers that are doing great things in the city. How do you think your work is kind of influencing the local jewelry scene?
Honestly, don't know. That's not really a question that I can answer because
Mhm.
it's it's not as if somebody might tell me that.
Yeah,
I feel like if somebody told me that, they might approach it and be like, "No, I'm not trying to copy you." So I don't know. I don't hear that very often from other
gotcha.
designers, but I do hear it from, I might be walking down the street and I'll have somebody grab my arm and be like, "I'm wearing your earrings."
Mm.
Stuff like that. So you feel like a little weird D-list celebrity in this city. The city's so
Yeah.
small.
Yeah.
So I run into people that are wearing my jewelry and like, telling me how much it's their favorite or that they wear them every day or whatever. And it's super adorable. And, sometimes I get like a little bit flushed and embarrassed because,
Yeah.
oh my God,
My God.
who are
Tell
you?
me more
That's so
though.
cute.
Tell me
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, but compliment me more. No, it's really, really fun. I love it. But yeah, down here in Gastown, particularly after COVID, I saw a real change in the neighborhood. And not that it wasn't always here, but it feels like it became a little bit more vivid, especially recently, was that a lot of people, and even in my building where there was a lot of architects and male driven businesses within my building, that's changed quite a bit. There's a lot of female owned businesses that moved in once those businesses closed their doors and, worked from home or
Mhm.
whatever. A lot of female businesses popped up in my building, such as wedding dress designers and artists. And I also noticed that in one of the buildings that's across the street from me called the Dominion Building down here. It's a really famous heritage building and tons of artists and female owned businesses within that building as well. And so many people that I know from, leather making to, again, more wedding dress designers, photographers. So many people are just right here. And it's just a hub of flourishing activity. And it's super motivating and really beautiful to see.
Yeah, and I'm sure too that also kind of inspires a lot of collaboration. So maybe, you meet someone and you're like, okay, maybe we can work together in some way. Is there any kind of collaborations that you've had with some local designers or photographers?
Yeah, always. I think that's actually really how I built my business was in the beginning. I tried to meet as many people as possible, and that was the fastest way to meet people was by doing collaborative photo shoots. It's how my work got into a lot of publications and how I still have those relationships to this day where people borrow my jewelry for photo shoots or whatever. But I've done collaborations with tons of different fashion designers in this neighborhood, Alice in Wonderland, who now owns a store. She was actually in my building when I first moved in here. She was in here, I think, for 20 years. And now I've been in this building for 12 years. But she recently opened a store on Granville Island and her work is absolutely beautiful and she'll still use my jewelry in her photo shoots for her lookbooks. Things like that happen and they're just lifetime relationships and it's really lovely. She actually carries some of my jewelry in her shop too now. So yeah,
So wonderful.
yeah,
And I love how, people are able to, especially as women, collaborate and help each other.
absolutely.
If someone's doing a shoot and they're a stylist and they're trying to get their name out there and you're working together to kind of, be able to kind of share everything that you're doing. And so I love that idea of collaboration over competition because I think so many times you see people kind of looking at each other in that way versus not wanting to work together. But I truly believe we are stronger when we do collaborate and help each other, especially as women. So I love to see that going on. And I will say in Vancouver, people really do have that mindset and I think are really open, especially when it is a smaller city, wanting to kind of work together to chase after our dreams. So It's
Yeah,
great.
no, I see that all the time, and it's definitely something that helped build my business. And I will always appreciate word of mouth forever because that's
Yes.
the number one in business. Any business, word of mouth is just like the best gift anyone can give you in a positive word of mouth.
Yes, exactly. So I'm going to go into some fun rapid fire questions just to kind of have a fun end today's conversation. So my first question to you is, what's your favorite piece of jewelry that you own and why? This might be a hard one because I know you have designed a lot of jewelry.
Yeah. So I mean, I have my personal one that was a gift from my husband, which is my wedding ring that my friend
Yes.
from Faux and Deer designed. So it's a salt and pepper diamond, and it's special, obviously, to me. My favorite, I never take it off. My hand has actually formed around the ring, which is not great, but there it is, stuck on me forever. My favorite pieces are always the statement pieces. So I'm wearing the golden hour hoops, which you're not going to be able to see here, but they're my favorite. It's always like I love a big hoop with a little design detail that just makes it different. So these guys have like a little point on them. I don't know if
Yes, I can see
point, and
that.
they have the cubic zirconia. So something just, a little different.
And I love how you added in the cubic as well on the side because it just gives it that extra detail.
Yeah, I like a little hidden detail. Just like, when people see it, they're like, ooh, wait, what's that? Got to look a little closer, but there it is. Yeah, it just makes it a little bit more standout.
Mhm. I would have to agree with you. Hoops are my number one as well. Whether they're like huggies or large statement hoops, you can't go wrong with a hoop in my opinion.
I agree always. Yeah,
Love that. Is there a dream piece that you've always wanted to design, but maybe you haven't yet?
always, always. The amount of ideas that I have on a daily basis is a problem for me. But yeah, I would love to go back to creating some really big stone pieces,
Hmm.
but it takes a lot of research to find people that you want to work with to do that with, because it's not always the easiest process. But I would love to go back to some really wild, interesting big stone pieces. When I first started, I would did all chunky, huge quartz pieces, and that's sort of what I was known for, was all these big, big chunky stones. And then I slowly refined that, but I would love to incorporate that again.
Maybe that's going to be on your strategy or bucket list in the next 10
Oh,
years. It might come through in some way.
always, absolutely.
What's one tip you'd give to someone starting as a jewelry designer, but it could also be a piece of advice for anyone starting a business?
So I think there is number one piece of advice that everybody gets told right now,
Hmm.
this sort of buzz thing, which is you just have to start. And I actually don't love that piece of advice, particularly for my industry, because my industry is completely oversaturated and it's becoming extreme more and more and more oversaturated because things like Timu and Alibaba are out there, and they're offering women an option, or men, doesn't matter who, to go in and buy extremely inexpensive jewelry. And there's all these buzzwords around that. But start your business up with the exact same bag that they're showcasing, the exact same hoops that everybody is putting into a collection, the exact same chains. So I have seen a lot of that, particularly over COVID and now, which is that there's, a new brand that comes out and they have a couple pairs of hoops and a couple pairs of studs and a couple chains, and they put their branding on a bag and they call it a business. I don't see that as a business. You cannot go into a business with that mentality. You have to find something that separates you and makes you special. There's way too many people in my industry that are like, ooh, I want to start a jewelry industry. Research it. Find people to work with. Find your point of view. You're throwing your money away if you're going to start a business like that, because one, you don't know what the materials are actually made out of. You don't know what you're actually selling people. And I do feel like the businesses are going to go out very fast and you're just
Hmm.
throwing your money away. So really come to your business and have a point of view and a voice. And that's really what's going to make you stand out from everybody else. Even if you have the same packaging, even if you have the same branding, it's still going to make you stand out from everyone else. Why would you want to put a brand out there that looks exactly the same as everybody else? I don't understand. So,
Yeah.
in my opinion, that is stay away from the just start, really look at your finances, see where you want to put them. The finances are going to kill you really fast if you don't have a bit of planning
Hmm.
and really put some thought behind it. Take some time to put some thought behind it. And then find somebody that you really want to work with if that's how you're going to do it, or maybe you're going to make it yourself, and figure out where you are in your industry and how you can stand out.
And I think the one thing that you mentioned that sets you apart is you're obsessed. You talk about, that's something you love. You're coming up with ideas constantly. You have that passion within you that I think has allowed you to, start the business in 2011. And here we are in 2025 in a saturated market where you continue to be successful because you have that strong point of view and you built that brand where people know what to expect in terms of quality and design from you as well. So I think also focusing on that aspect is really important too.
Absolutely. And if you think about my industry being competitive at even where I am in the industry and being a 15-year-old business,
Mhm.
think about how competitive it is if you're going to have the exact same pieces as everybody else and you're competing. And people think if I lower my price, that's what's going to get me in. And it might for a year with a few stores or however you're doing your thing, but it's not sustainable at all. And it's just something to step back from. It's something to really rethink. And I really, really hope that if somebody's listening to me today, that's all they take away is just really like put your heart into your business. If you don't have your heart in your business, it's never going to go anywhere.
Love that so much. And last question, do you have a sustainable brand or maybe even a creator on social media that you are really admiring at the moment?
So someone that comes to mind is Les the Label, who are local. They actually used to be in my building for a very brief period of time. And I just love anyone that's working with recyclable materials that are made into something else. Like I know that they have fishing nets that they're remaking into fabrics. And I love that. I love the idea of the recycled part of this becoming something else. I love that. And that's something that I would love to strive for within my own business.
And it's inspiring to see how people can have such unique ideas of how to reuse and repurpose things.
100.
And especially I think with, the now with AI and all these kind of sources that we're able to kind of use, I really think the opportunities are endless in terms of sustainability and how we can kind of move forward and having this collective mindset. And I know especially with, today's generation, sustainability in terms of even what we purchase is huge on all consumers' minds. So I think, everything that you're doing in that regard, I think people are really resonating with as well. So it goes to show how, not only is it good for business and customers, but it also gives, as business owners, as people in the industry, it gives us something to strive towards. And it gives us opportunities for us to also come up with new ideas and different ways of doing things. So it's a really cool opportunity, I would say, as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the conscious consumer now wants to feel really good about where they're putting their money. And I think that when they do see this, small batch made or really thoughtful, the person behind the business and everything that they're putting into it, it makes such a huge difference about feeling good about where your money is going. We are where we're at in this global economy, and it's important to really think everything through these days.
And shop local, shop Canadian if you can as well.
Yes, please shop Canadian if you can. That would be a beautiful,
Yes.
beautiful thing, a gift to everybody this holidays particularly.
Yeah, exactly. And I know you have some amazing Gia hoops that are coming out that you've just launched as
I
well.
do. Those are like on par with the pair that I'm wearing. They were kind of inspired by these with the inset cubic zirconia. Yeah, I love them. They're so cute. Yeah.
I will be including a discount code in the bio and caption of today's podcast, so please do check that out. You can also check out Sarah Mulder's collection on sarahmulder.com, but also follow her journey as a business owner and entrepreneur at Sarah Mulder Jewellery, as well as at Sarah Mulder Art on Instagram. Thank you so much, Sarah, for this conversation. It was wonderful learning more about your creative process, learning more about your sustainability and what you're doing in your community. And I think it's just so inspiring as well to see kind of your journey over the years and how you're continuing to evolve. And I'm really excited to see, what's going to happen in the future with you and your business. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for all of your support. Honestly, it's so huge and it makes such a difference. Thank you very much. Appreciate you.